bluegrass music, and it's an instrument that can be found in almost every musical setting. It takes an effort to remember that in the early days of bluegrass, five-string banjo players were a rare commodity, and those who could play in the new style were even fewer and farther between. So it shouldn't be surprising that when a bright young talent turned up with a banjo in his hands, he quickly became a hot commodity who might be recruited by more than one band leader and front man, more than one after another. And while banjo players listened to and studied one another's playing, particularly that of Earl Scruggs, it didn't take long for the good ones to develop their own distinctive sound and style, carrying it from one group to another and building their own set of followers. What might be a little surprising, though, is to see just how quickly banjo players began reaching out beyond their folk and country roots in search of material to which they could apply their new techniques. For instance, within 2 years of starting his partnership with Lester Flatt, Earl Scruggs was ready to record the old jazz standby Farewell Blues. And Don Reno turned another old number, the Limehouse Blues, into a distinctive bluegrass number just a few years after that. And that's a habit that continues to this day. In fact, some five-string players today may be as well known in the jazz world as they are in our world. Still, it's unusual to find a banjo player, especially among our pioneers, who worked both sides of the street with equal dexterity and creativity, adapting jazz and pop tunes to the five-string, even while laying down some hard-charging bluegrass. It's unusual, that is, but it's not impossible. In fact, that describes our next Hall of Fame inductee to a T. And to make the presentation putting him in the Hall of Fame, please welcome a banjo player who knows a thing or two about both those elements himself. And I'm honored to introduce Mike Scott, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much, Kyle, and thank you to the IBMA. I'm honored to be here for the grand opening and for this amazing museum. And for the invitation to speak about one of the most famous banjo players in history, Alan Shelton. I first learned of Alan Shelton when I was 10 years old. This is when you could carry a pocket knife to school. Y'all remember that? The word got out that I'd trade a pocket knife for just about any LP record that had a banjo on it. A pocket knife trade that changed my life forever was one when a Jim and Jesse record popped up entitled Bluegrass Special. I was in total awe of the banjo playing on the album. It was Alan Shelton. Born on July the 2nd, 1936 in Rockingham County, North Carolina, Alan grew up in a musical family. His father, Troy Shelton, owned and played several bluegrass instruments, but it was the banjo that got Alan's interest the most. In addition to his father, his early influences were Earl Scruggs, Don Reno, and Hubert Davis. Alan began his music career at the age of 14. His impact on bluegrass music can't be overstated. It was during this time with Jim and Jesse and the Virginia Boys from 1960 to 1966 that he came to fame. He went on to appear in over 100 recordings with various bluegrass legends and artists. His distinctive style of playing the banjo, drawing from pedal steel guitar licks, instantly trademarked any recording that he was on. His banjo arrangement of Home Sweet Home is still mimicked today by many players. Aside from his amazing music career, Alan was also a talented machinist and welder. Most importantly, he was a man of faith, a husband to Shirley Shelton, a father to 4 children, Robin, Drew, Timberly, and Todd, and some of the grandchildren here as well. They're all here with us tonight. To me, he was a dear friend and mentor. Alan returned as a full-time Virginia boy with Jim and Jesse in 1983, end of 83 till 1988. Since I was their full-time banjo player at that time when he came back, Alan was featured on a 5-string dobro, kind of an unusual twist of music, along with occasional banjo solos, and then he and I often performed twin banjos. We had a blast. We played 240 to 260 dates per year, including numerous radio, TV shows across the nation, including the TNN was coming out at that time, early 80s, the Nashville Network, the Grand Ole Opry, New Country, Fire on the Mountain, PBS TV, and Austin City Limits. We performed all over the United States, Canada, and actually were one of the first bands to go to South Africa over there and played 3 countries, Zambia, Lesotho, and Malawi. We did the Wembley tours in Europe, London, England, Belfast, Ireland, Vienna, Austria, Stockholm, Sweden, Frankfurt, Germany, Zurich. It was just amazing crowds of 40 to 70,000 people per show. It was during these times, that traveling a lot back then, that I got to ride shotgun with Alan. And Jim would usually start out and we'd end up, Alan and I would take over about the midnight shift, and he'd drive the bus, and I got to know him the most during that time. You really get to learn somebody in all the hours driving up to morning time and watching the sunrise. During our midnight to daylight conversations, he often spoke about current events, his faith in God, and his love for his family. And of course, we talked banjos. I was about 20 years old at that time. About 2:30 one morning, I got to tell you this little short story. 2:30 one morning, Al and I were driving up the road and got carried away in conversation and probably talking about banjos. And Alan looked over at me and he said, "Mike, grab that Rand McNally map over there and a flashlight and see where we are." He said, "This just don't look right." So, he said, I hadn't seen an exit for about 35 miles. So, lo and behold, I grabbed the map and the flashlight, and we did not have GPS, by the way. Y'all caught that. Anyway, we grabbed the flashlight, and I started looking at it, and I said, "Alan, we're on the West Virginia Turnpike." And Alan glanced up over his glasses, and he said, "Turnpike?" About that time, then I saw the little door on the back of the bus fling open, and there stood Jim McReynolds at about 2:30 in the morning in white boxer shorts, black socks up to almost his knees, a tankless shirt, a sleeveless shirt, and his hair was standing up about right here. Anyway, and I heard Jim, he goes, "Turnpike?" About that time, when he opened up that door and he looked, he pushed his hair back down. He said, "When I guess you boys know," he said, "y'all just cost us about 3 hours." Well, needless to say, Alan and I, we did hear about it. Trust me, for about the next 3 or 4 weeks from stage, about us boys taking the scenic route. So, fun story there, I won't ever forget. But Alan was such a great guy, such a mentor. Alan's playing has influenced me, as well as so many other banjo players around the world. Wherever I go, performing at a festival, it could be teaching at a university, his name is often mentioned so many times by aspiring new players, as well as the veterans in the business. They all know Alan Shelton. If you're a banjo player, you've heard of Alan Shelton. Unfortunately, we lost Alan November 21st, 2009, at the age of 73, in Nashville, Tennessee, from complications of leukemia. But his legacy lives on. At this time, I'd like to ask the house band to come back out and join me on a tune. I want to thank Alan's family for bringing out his 1954 bow tie banjo, this Gibson bow tie banjo over here. This banjo actually played on majority of all those old records, Jim and Jesse records, Mac Wiseman's, all those old records, Jim Eames, so many. But anyway, most of those classics are out. I'm going to pick this up right now and ask the band. Alan's remembered for his phenomenal picking, whether it's straight ahead bluegrass, as Kyle mentioned earlier, or an added popular or jazz tune that he arranged. He's also known for his constant wide grin. You see Alan's having fun, he's got the banjo, he's smiling. And his willingness to help and encourage others. For no coincidence, here's a Louis Armstrong song that Alan arranged and made it his own, one entitled "When You're Smiling." this time, escorted by her grandson, Nathan Shelton. I'd like for y'all to make welcome to the podium, if you would, please, Miss Shirley Shelton, Ellen's wife.